You're listening to Your Rivers Are Wrong, the podcast.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, or whatever time zone you're in. Welcome to the Your Rivers Are Wrong podcast. We're still doing it. It's great. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Merle.
And I'm the other host, and my name is Dante.
Yeah. And in this podcast, we talk about a bunch of stuff. For example, the wonderful whimsies of world building and the arts and aesthetics of setting up a setting and telling stories related to all those topics. Related to all the things. We're talking about all the things.
Love it.
Here.
We're talking about all the things.
If you want to know about all the things, come here because we got you covered.
You've come to the right place.
Exactly. And in fact, we're already on episode 44. We have already discussed over 44 of all the things.
We've talked about more than 44
It's
of
a
all
double
the
thing,
things.
actually. Yeah.
The first 40 episodes cover 2 topics each. So
Yeah.
it's somewhere in the ballpark of 80 something.
We're getting close
by
to
now.
like the 3 digits here. Yeah.
Sure are.
We're like upping our game.
How do we keep having things to talk about here?
I don't know.
Surely we're going to run out.
Perhaps like world
Sometime.
building is an endless source of creativity and fun. Who knew?
What? That's
What?
crazy.
What do you mean?
That's crazy.
It's true. How have you been, Dante?
It's been a hectic week.
Yeah.
Been a hectic week.
Please elaborate.
To put it briefly, succinctly, hopefully, the D&D community has been upheaved and rolled over and
On fire.
pushed down a hill. And all of us are just trying to grab our bearings. And I've very casually, very smoothly announced a full pivot away from D&D for a good long while.
Mhm.
And golly, there's a lot of work that comes with that.
I can imagine. But you already punched out a whole video about it, and it was great.
Yes, I did. And
So you're doing the work, is what I'm saying.
and people were super supportive. I had viewers from who knows where.
That's so lovely.
Showing up and being like, hey, this is the first video I'm seeing of you. And in my head, I'm like, well, that's perfect. You've come to the...
Please do. Yeah.
You're right on time.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's been great.
Can you do like a 1-sentence summary of why everything's on fire?
1-sentence summary of why
For the
everything's on fire.
uninitiated.
Sure. Let me just put the company on blast, on record, on our podcast. Basically, thanks to a couple of leaks of documents and such, creators kind of got the hint that the D&D sphere is going to be more heavily monetized at the expense of the third-party publishers and creators. And it was not very nice. And when they released their official statement, it wasn't very reassuring that they would reverse any of these things that were leaked. So
Right.
a lot of us feel like we're kind of sort of being used as just like advertisement for the game without much payoff. So
Yeah.
it's awkward and weird. And a lot of us are just taking the opportunity to learn about different games and different systems. And I'm on set myself up to be on a tremendous quest of playing 99 other games.
Yeah.
And it only
love it.
sunk in recently how many games that is. It's a lot.
That's a big number.
But it sounds so cool. I can't pick a smaller number because anything less than 99 sounds less cool. Like,
Well,
I
can't
can't
you do
be
like the similar?
49
Well, okay.
or
Yeah.
76. Like,
But
there's
if
so
you
many.
do, yeah, okay.
It has to be a cool number, like 99,
Yeah.
right?
But you could have done like 33.
Okay. I could.
I mean, you could have.
That's not nearly as exciting.
That's true.
Anyway, that's not what this podcast is about. But, leaning into this podcast, learning about the lore of different games is so fun. Last night I went over the game Ryutama with on a live stream.
Wait, I think I've heard of that. That's the chill one, right? The sort of Ghibli one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's self-described as Hayao Miyazaki's Oregon Trail,
Oh,
which are 2 very different aesthetics.
that's a great premise, though. I love it so much.
Oh my gosh, the mythos of the world, just a premise of the foundation of the world is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like going on an adventure. Sorry, we're not even at a topic yet. But
We got
basically,
time. You just talk. You're good.
To sum it up in 2 sentences, if this will be 2 sentences, I don't know. I'll put a lot of commas. The game master plays as someone called the Ryujin, which is like a dragon-y sort of character, and
Okay.
their job is to feed the 4 seasonal dragons that created the world.
Oh, that's up your alley. Holy shit. Okay.
Even though they created the world, technically these dragons that created the world are still very young, and they feed on things called travelogues, which are records of journeys.
Ah.
So, to feed the 4 seasonal dragons, the Ryujin send people on journeys that are fulfilling and meaningful and dynamic. And the better these stories are, the more they feed these seasonal dragons.
Wow.
So there's incentive for the GM to toss in adventure, drama, combat, intrigue, like strife, and all of that to make a story more dynamic. And there's a built-in global culture that everybody has to go on a journey once in their life. So everybody's in on this memo that they have to go on this journey to feed
Thou
these
shalt
dragons
adventure.
that power the world. And depending on what story you make, the dragons are fed in different ways and the world changes because of it.
Oh.
And like such a direct
That's
connection
meta.
of
Whoa.
person to God, person to demigod to God, that direct connection is just so interesting.
That sounds really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you planning on playing it soon or just like checking it out?
I don't know if I can get a party fast enough. There's
Me,
a lot of games
I'm
to
the
cover.
party. Can I join? Because this sounds great.
Any game I cover, I'm down to run at least once. It's
That's
just
a
a
lot of
matter of
games.
assembling people.
Yeah,
But
fair.
Anyway, yeah. What? Wait.
That sounds great, though. I love it.
Anyway, how was your weekend? Anything exciting? Anything interesting?
Ooh.
And if not, that's okay.
I'm not sure. What did I do this weekend? I think it was pretty chill because otherwise I would probably have remembered it. I kind of got back into the Critical Role obsession a little bit because it
Sure.
was a little bit like out of my brain for I think maybe half a year or something. And then recently the day before yesterday, I watched all of the EXU again.
All of it?
Well, not all of it, but like I started the good first chunk of it. And I was like, damn, this is so good.
Wait. The first season or Calamity?
No, the Calamity one, sorry.
Oh my gosh, you watched Calamity again?
Yeah, this has been like the
Crazy.
third time. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is really great. I love this hobby. Well, how did I forget? So now I'm back
EXE
into it and I'm
Calamity is really
thinking of all the characters. I'm doing all the things again. It's like I'm back at level 1 and it's pretty good.
Amazing.
So that's been a big part of time spending.
Yeah, that's so fun.
But aside from that, not too much. Yeah, slowly easing into work again, doing some freelance, but it's pretty chill. So that's very nice.
Awesome.
And as we've wrapped up our nice little introduction there,
Perfect transition.
yeah, it's good, right?
Perfect bridge.
Let's dive into the topic that we're going to discuss today. In fact, because I'm your humble host for this episode.
So humble.
So humble.
So hostly.
It's my turn to introduce a topic to you. And today I want to have a nice little discussion about something quite specific. And it is the following. I want to talk about the chase.
The chase.
I want to talk about chase scenes. I want to talk about their goals. I want to talk why they happen, how to make them dynamic and interesting. All of it.
I really dig that.
Chases are a very, I don't want to say niche, but it's a specific tool you can use, right? It's only useful in some situations. It can happen accidentally, but usually it's not your sort of go-to thing. And there's been some really good, interesting chases out there in the world building, storytelling sphere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's nice to dissect them a little bit and see what they're about and how we should run them or write them.
Yeah, that's interesting. Chase scenes. We've definitely done more than one chase scene in our prompts before, right? We've done a couple of them, I think.
I remember the one with the airship where somebody almost had to run to get the last airship or something. I forgot the rest of the context, but I was like, okay, that's a chase. And I forgot about the other ones, but I feel like there were more.
We did a police chase scene where a brother was chasing a brother.
Yeah,
or something like that.
shapeshifter or something. Something
Yeah,
shapeshifting.
yeah.
That's true. Also, I got reminded on this topic by the chase scene in Avatar that I think is important to mention here. There's one episode that's literally called The Chase. And it's basically the antagonist gang like Azula and May and Ty Lee chasing the Avatar friends. And the whole thing about this entire episode is basically seeing what the chase does to the characters and how they can finally end it because it's taking a long time. So it's also about endurance. It's about when do you decide to start running or stop running? When does the fact that you get tired or the fact that you get unmotivated or the fact that your environment runs out or your tool or vehicle or whatever you use to, get out of there, what if that runs out or breaks or all those things? There's so many variables to a chase. And I think it's also, I guess, movement-oriented storytelling.
Sure, yeah.
I feel like that's not always the case, or that's a very specific trait that a chase scene has that is so lovely, because not every world-building or storytelling scene has this trait. I think most of them are actually static, so they exist in a static landscape, or they have all the time in the world to get completed. A dialogue can take a minute, or it can take 2 hours, and both are valid.
Yes.
And with a chase, that's not really the case because there's a bunch of movement and time you gotta go through before you finish or finally get out of that chase. Maybe to just kick it off a little bit, I was wondering how important movement or chases are or have been to your storytelling.
Well, there's a lot of things that factor into chase scenes. And I will say that D&D probably has a not so great chase rules because it's like I move 30 feet. Then I move 30 feet. Then I move 30 feet. So it's not the best medium for that sort of thing, but like just running. Like there's a time and a place for combat oriented tabletop RPGs where you're doing that split second turn by turn style game. And chase scenes, personally, I believe is not one of them. I think chase scenes are faster than that, are faster than these 6-second turns. They're like, it's to the moment, to the minute.
Needs to be snappier.
Yeah, it's so dynamic. As you said, things change, the landscape change, what you're running through changes.
Yeah.
Giving yourself a gridded battle map for a chase scene is limiting yourself to how interesting it can be. I think you touched on two things that are really, really important in chase scenes that kind of help you frame it better. And first one is tension. The chase scenes don't exist without tension. There's no such thing as a relaxing chase scene, right?
No, that would be super unuseful.
Could you imagine?
We'd just be walking.
Actually,
maybe.
There's one exception to this.
Oh, okay.
There is a scene. Oh my gosh. I remember it from my childhood. There's a scene with Bugs Bunny and some dude who's chasing him through like a castle, right? And somehow they both end up going through a room full of like ether. Or like like high helium gas, essentially. And they're just kind of bouncing through rooms like entirely.
Oh, no.
Like,
is it still a chase or are they just completely distracted as well?
They're technically chasing each other. They're just very relaxed as they're doing. Yeah, very like slow-mo moon jumping. Yeah, wow. That's the only exception. Lovely. Any other chase scene is full of tension.
I'll take it. You know, the Bugs Bunny universe is very action-oriented, so I feel like this might have been a good choice.
And he's always being chased.
They know about movement.
Yeah. But basically chase scenes rely on tension, right?
Yeah,
the second the tension is over, the chase is over. And a lot of chases don't last too long, right? It's not conducive to storytelling to keep your tension high the entire way through. At a certain point, it becomes exhausting and you need those breaks. And chase scenes are kind of like, here is a high action, high intensity scene for you to enjoy and appreciate the tension. And then when it resolves, we can all relax. So I think that's one of the big things. And the second thing is what you said, variables, right? A chase scene has to be dynamic. Things have to change. The environment has to shift. A chase through like an empty parking lot is not that exciting. It's actually just kind of funny looking. People are just chasing each other with no surroundings, nothing, and no obstacles. Yeah. It taps into the ability for these characters to adapt to their surroundings, how well they utilize the walls and the objects nearby, how well they overcome obstacles. Do people do it better than each other and like catch up to each other or make that distance bigger? Instead of like normal dramatic tense scenes where people are like in a room or saying really important things, like you said, like chases are very physical. It's a very physical aspect to them. So chases are hard to maybe I'm just saying, I don't know if you said it, but chases are hard to write.
Yeah.
I think chases are hard to write because you can't just be like, I'm scared. And that's like something you would normally say during a chase. No, people don't talk when they're chasing, right? Verbal communication is not really a big thing when it comes to chasing, unless it's like, I'm going to get you or something like that.
No, that's true. Also, there's just so much in the way. If you're running real fast, it's hard to talk. You have your head full with moving at shit because you're like getting the heck out of there. That's the primary goal. And talking is a good portion lower on that list.
Could you imagine a full like Aaron Sorkin dialogue between two people as they're running?
Would be very funny, but not very efficient.
Exactly.
No tension left. And about the tension, actually, I think it's really great that you called it the high stakes tension, because I feel like very often the chase scene can also be the sort of explosive moment in your buildup of tension-based storytelling. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking of like the sort of classic spy movie. Something gets stolen from a museum and how you have the whole sort of, ominous music in the background and hoping to have no guards around and very sneakily, stealthily, creeping into this museum, dropping from the ceiling, catching the diamond,
I see it.
Almost being happy that the alarm didn't go off. Then hell breaks loose, our alarm, all the guards, and then you're like, okay, fuck, gotta get out of there, lose everything that I don't need, run for my life, right? Of course, the tension to build up to that moment needs to be good, because otherwise, if we don't care about it, then it's like, okay, I guess he runs now, And secondly, the chase very much uses that tension, explodes it into super high stakes action oriented thing. And I think that also links a little bit to the fact that I think in chases, because it's just so hectic and intense, there's not much else to think about except for how to, create distance. There's different kinds of ways you can sort of approach a chase scene, I guess. Sometimes the goal is to just get out of there. Sometimes the goal is there's an object that needs to be safe. There's one thing that I can't lose, and that's this diamond that I just stole or something. Sometimes it's just sort of hiding from someone, and it's not necessarily, doesn't have to be a chase, but it just has to be, I have to be invisible as soon as possible, away from this situation and unrecognized as soon as possible.
Right.
Yeah, there's kind of different versions of this. And I think it's pretty valid to also really consider the pursuer and the pursued in the situation. Like, there's two different goals going on. Either the pursuer wants to catch the object or catch the person.
Right.
Get something back or get revenge, all those options. And the pursued has perhaps similar goals or super different goals, which is just get the heck out of there. In some instances, if you add another goal to that or another stake into the mix, it can very well increase the tension that you have built. Like, you want the explosion to be so out there. You want it to be as literally as explosive as possible, because this is your release from all the storytelling and all the effort that you've put into the arc leading up to this.
Right.
And this is where the environment comes in. It made me think of the scene in the Hunger Games, what is it, like fourth film, I'm not sure, where they're in an underground hideout and the sort of air alarm goes off and they have to get to the lowest level so that the doors are sealed so that all the bombs that were coming in are not, they won't be shattered under the rocks or something, because the bottom level is the safest, something like that. So there's like this alarm blaring, everyone's running down all these mine kind of stairs, and then Katniss, the main character, finds that her sister's not around. Her sister's not in the lower level.
Right.
So you feel the alarm, you hear like, doors will close in 10 minutes, doors will close in 4 minutes, doors will close in 1 minute. And Katniss is running up the stairs to get the stupid sister to come down here. And you feel both the chase of like, where's the sister? Because I need her to be with me.
Yes.
It's a sort of chase scene.
It's a race
in a
against
different
time.
way. Yeah. But in this case, there's also indeed a race against time and also a physical barrier that will literally lock them out if they're not on time. And all those elements are very chaotic and very exciting if they're all in basically half a minute of storytelling, right? So I think that's very nice to think about as well. This is maybe quite an obvious example of the doors closing, right? That's very obvious. Like, okay, if you're not on time, you're going to be locked out and you lost. You didn't win this level.
Right.
But there's also different kind of environmental elements that you can add to this, like either the vehicle you're using perhaps for the chase, or the fact that suddenly there's, I don't know, thugs or people helping out the pursuer, the classic throwing nails on the battlefield and you running through them and losing your tires, that kind of stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, there's also just in general, like environmental hazard. Things can either both hurt the pursuer and the pursuit. If there's a sudden storm blowing in, yeah, you're both going to be fucked because you're still having this goal of chasing each other. But then if a storm just completely wipes you off your feet, then no one gets what they want. So there's an interesting dynamic that you can play with.
Yeah, I think you hit a lot of really important things. Mostly that what makes chases so exciting is that it's full of the unexpected, right? Second to second, you have no idea what's going to happen. In a static room with people talking, you can kind of gauge, here are the 2 or 3 things that could happen, right? But during a chase scene, it's like as you're quickly changing setting over and over and over again to different rooms, different stairwells, different environments, there's always something to watch out for. And you get to watch the character adapt on the go, right? It's a true character test as to like, what would this character do in these 5 situations? And you have 10 seconds to choose, right? Yeah, like 2 seconds each room, go, and you get to see how adept the character is at avoiding things or finding things or chasing things. And then what makes chases so exciting is that there are risks being taken at like every turn. Every situation, you have to make a decision. Will it pay off? Kind of have to cross your fingers like, oh, am I going to turn left or right? Am I going to take the stairwell up or am I going to jump this chasm? Should I grab this? Do I have time to grab this? Or something bearing down on me? I need to get it. I don't have time to think about it. I'm going, right? I'm going for it. And you have everybody in their chair just kind of gripping their seat, being like, was that the right call? Should they have done that? And then like in post, sometimes we're like, oh, you shouldn't have gone for the idol or something like that. And like you can say all of that in post, but the excitement comes from that split second decision that you truly have no time to think. And should you put yourself in the seat of the actual character, you would probably handle that situation much worse, right?
So for sure.
A little bit of sympathy for these people in chases.
They're doing great, pals.
Yeah, but like any scene from like Law and Order, a bunch of scenes from Indiana Jones, every Marvel movie, there's some sort of chase, some sort of scene where they're just running as fast as they can, and there's something they gotta escape from or catch up to. And it's fun to see really athletic people in chase scenes because they do some of the most ridiculous things. And it's like jumping off of buildings, like from one rooftop to another, crashing through windows, diving under doors, which is one of my favorites is National Treasure. You know National Treasure? Oh, yeah.
We've talked about this. I still haven't seen it. I should.
Oh, yeah.
I got reminded now again.
The deeply American movie. Yeah.
Sure.
It makes sense. Oh, we could put that on the list. It could do later. I've already watched that movie like 3 times, but it's a great movie.
Yes.
But basically, Nicolas Cage is the main character, and he's up to all these crazy heists and getting into all these deeply American buildings, and he's got to run, right? So Nicolas Cage is a great actor, but he might not be the greatest athlete. So watching him run is like a sight to behold. he's just like booking it. He's got this whole stance to him.
It sounds great.
Yeah. Lots of really great chase scenes in that movie. But yeah, from a storytelling perspective, I think it's definitely a task to put a chase scene in your book because you have to deal with a lot of details in a very short amount of time. And should you dwell too long on these details, you lessen the pace of the story unfolding. Like even if you're narrating it to somebody, if you're like, you turn into this room and there's a nice tapestry on the wall and there's this light streaming through the rooftop. No, there's no time to think about that. You gotta go. There's a road ahead of you, 3 crocodiles and 1 chasm. You have a rope tied to nothing. Go. Action.
Yep. That's basically it.
Like there's no time to set the scene, and there's a talent in making sure that you keep the tension going while the story is unfolding, and the people listening or the people reading have enough details to picture it in their minds and act upon it without being like, wait, what's going on? Can you help me out here? Like, is the chasm like 3 feet or 4 feet? I can only jump 3 feet. You know, that kind of thing. Right.
Yeah, you can't get into the nitpicky stuff because there's just no time for nitpicking because then they'll catch you. Yeah. And I think to this point, I kind of thought of this, and I think you're saying something similar here, in the way of like, you can't use an establishing shot. There's a sort of classic, the sort of basic, quote unquote, basic way of filmmaking is establishing shot, half shot, zooming into the face, someone talking, dialogues, someone else talking. Okay, we understood where we are, we understood who the people are, and now we understand what he's saying or something. But in a chase scene like that, where, as you rightfully said, environment is literally flying by as you go, there's no establishing shot. You got no time to sort of slowly introduce the audience to shit. No, this is like throwing stuff at you and hoping that something will stick because there's just no time for anything else. And that really does require creative storytelling as well. I was thinking like, what good chase scenes do I know and how do they do it? Do they also have an establishing shot or something or no? And I think it's very much using a video game perspective, right? Of like just a first person, I'm in this vehicle, I'm driving as fast as I can see things literally on the road as I'm driving into them or driving toward them. I think the sort of classic example of like, the bridge is being opened. We have to get over it. We have to make it. Otherwise we're stuck on this side and then our pursuer will catch up on us. Even in that perspective, I don't think there will be an establishing shot, or at least it won't be like you see, here's the person, here's the bridge. Yeah, it's getting open now. That's not happening. You really only see sort of the vague glimpses of it, and then you're already there, and you're just hoping with all your life to make it and to get out on the other side. It's really about the sort of, on the one hand, getting that chaos so right that it feels like the most high-stake moment in your book, and it should be probably. And on the other hand, making the chaos not so chaotic that we don't understand at all what's happening.
Right.
It's a bit of a tightrope here because you don't have all the time in the world to make us understand. You can't kind of hold our hand because there's just no time for holding our hand.
Yeah. Sometimes, I've absolutely, I want to say utilized, but the word I'd rather use is weaponized. I've definitely weaponized panic before in tabletop settings.
It's a good tool. I'm not gonna lie.
I say like, okay, you walk into this room and then suddenly the floor crumbles out below you and there's a 200-foot drop into a deep dark abyss.
Go.
What do you do? Right? You don't give them any more context. And I'm like, you got to make a call. You're falling right now. What are you doing? Right.
Yep.
And adding this real time like motivation to them to act or do something. It's really fun in a game where you just kind of sit at a table and you theoretically have all the time in the world, but you could truly just time pressure them into making a snap decision to make the situation more realistic to human reaction time. Right.
Yeah, for sure. This is also in general just what happens with RPGs. Like sometimes, understandably so, but sometimes you can get stuck in the nitty gritty, even with like non-chase scenes, even when you're just exploring a room. You can just keep asking questions forever if you want. That's kind of what the game is built on. But at some point, it really sort of deflates the moment of the story that you're actually telling. And then it becomes a bit of a grind or something. So it's nice to sort of shake things up literally, I guess, with just saying, okay, now you got to make a decision. No time for questions. Go.
Exactly that. I'm not amazing at chase scenes because I'm not. I like prepping every scene and I like making establishing shots and really painting the picture of it. But if I'm feeling especially dangerous some days, if I walk into a D&D session and it's like, I want to cause some trouble, you know.
Oh, I love this so much. Yes.
There's times when I'm like, I look at the characters in my session. I'm like, they could handle some chaos, and I just toss something and see how they react. Giving people, I think this is one of the unique situations where if you give people less context, if you paint the scene less and they give them a couple things to just hyper focus on and very little time to decide what they want to do, the story ends up better than if they had time to process it and digest it and
it's a pressure cooker, really. Yeah,
act upon it in the most optimal way. Sometimes optimal decisions are not good storytelling decisions. That's neither here nor there.
I mean, it kind of boils down to that. If you don't make mistakes or don't make chaotic decisions, there's only got to be like very nice, well-educated decisions on there. Those are not always fun. Some are really boring, actually.
Yeah, could you imagine? Every rom-com would be dead if, if every character in them made rational, optimal decisions.
True.
There'd be no tension. Everybody would be reasonable, well-adjusted people.
I hate reason. Yeah.
and it'd be the most boring story ever. Every story needs a little bit of chaos.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. Well, speaking of chaos.
What are you speaking of? Is this your transition? Is this your bridge?
No, I don't know. I was like, do I? Because it's not really about chaos. Honestly, I thought if we're just talking about chases, we should just build a chase because it feels the most logical thing to do. So maybe I can just start off and then toss it to you and we can kind of go back and forth on this.
We're just going to paint a chase scene. That's the chase scene for today.
That's kind of the prompt.
Exciting. Yeah.
So I'm seeing a main plaza in a city filled with people.
I'm seeing it.
There's like banners and flags all around. You see people in neighboring buildings looking out the window. This is a big public event, right? There's a sort of, what's that called? Like a microphone on a stand in the main area or in front of the big main justice building or something that's in front of this plaza. Someone's coming out, is ready to make their big speech. Perhaps it's the leader of the nation or something, or perhaps it's introducing some groundbreaking cool thing that everyone's ready to see. And before they can actually speak, just on the side of just behind the stage, basically, someone is booking for their life, heading out of the Justice Building, just outside the door, crossing the stage into the crowd, and is gone. And no one understands what it is. This is the start of it.
All right, I'm going to paint the scene.
Yes, continue.
Today, we're gonna I need a city name. Give me a city name. Hit me with anything. You need a letter? I can give you a letter.
Circe.
All right. In the city of Circe, this is where the situation is happening. We're actually at the grand unveiling of the Circe National Zoo. And there's been a wondrous amount of animals brought in from all over the world to populate what will definitely become a national landmark. We got a bunch of people already excited for the opening, and the mayor is about to get on stage announcing that the zoo will be open to everybody attending. And you see in the distance, as you said, somebody running out of the city hall building towards the stage, panicked. Who could it possibly be? Probably one of the zookeepers. I wonder why. And you hear in the distance the sound of the sound of an elephant trumpet. How did you know? You read my mind.
We're so in tune.
Dozens of animals just start running out of City Hall. Something's gone wrong with the cargo. Everything is rushing forward. And here we flash back 30 seconds. A young man in his early 30s holding on to the small, tiny hand of his 10-year-old daughter. And he looks around trying to find some cotton candy that she's been asking for the better part of a minute. He finds a fountain and sits her down there and says, "Hey, just wait here. I'm going to go to the stand, get you some cotton candy, and I'll be right back." And we pan forward, flashback forward. You hear the elephant trumpet. The man is here, cotton candy in hand. Hundreds of people are running all over the place and barreling right towards him. Merla, what is currently running right towards the man? Give me the scene.
This is the crown jewel of this animal collection, basically, right? So the thing that makes this zoo so lovely, so world famous already, even though it hasn't started, is the
Hit me with it.
let me think.
I'm ready.
Is the flying mammoth that they've acquired from far away. It's not really good at flying anymore. It's one of the last of its kind, but it's a big, important, wonderfully imposing figure. This mammoth is so fed up with people hauling it around, people being so scared of its existence.
Me too. That's relatable.
At some point, when the cage is open, you gotta earn your freedom. You gotta run to it like it's your last day on Earth. Rightfully so. I would do the same.
All right.
Into this crowd, barreling with giant, what are those called? Pincers? No. What's the thing that mammoths have?
Tusks?
Tusks, yeah.
Pincers?
Tusks. I don't know any English vocab for animal related. What do you mean? I just know storytelling vocab.
Listen, if you want them to be pincers, they could be pincers.
No, tusks. I want the mammoth feel. Okay. Giant tusks hurling people around, being scared as well. Like they've never seen as many people in their life. They've only dealt with cages and vague animal sounds from the other room. That's about their life. Very sad.
They've never seen a zoo in their life. Yeah.
He's excited. He's getting so many sensory, experiences in this plaza, but he's very scared for his life, and he kind of is ready for not this much people around. So he's getting out. He's getting out of there. We now see as the 45 degrees turn over the shoulder by the dad holding the...
You stepped away from the mic when you did
holding
that.
What's it called? Yeah.
Cotton candy?
Cotton candy, yeah.
Yeah.
And we see the dad, his eyes widen in horror as he sees the mammoth barreling towards his little girl that's just... I would say she's not that scared. She's just excited about the noise. She's like, hey, there's already animals out. Yay, the party's starting. I thought we had to listen to this whole speech and stuff, but I guess they don't do that this year. Lovely. And the dad is rightfully so, throws his cotton candy over the shoulder into the face of someone else who's also scared. Booking. There's how long is this? How far away is this? How likely is this?
We're giving him a strong 50 feet.
Strong 50 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
You're tossing it to me. Yeah. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Woolly mammoth barrels through, charging towards the fountain. The only thing he knows is water. He's got to head over there. Clearly, flying mammoths
are water-based mammoth creatures.
The famous aquatic-based flying mammoths. Keep up, Marilla. Come on. We're moving 50 feet at a time. He's barreling towards the water. The man with the cotton candy, most of it has fallen off the stick, but he's running. He's racing the woolly mammoth at this point. He's racing it.
Yeah.
They're both running towards this fountain. The girl is just sitting there wide-eyed. The man's got to make a split decision. He sees the woolly mammoth to the left, and what he does is he reaches out a hand. He grabs onto one of these large pincer-looking tusks.
Yes.
And then he hangs onto it, grabs onto it, so he's running alongside the mammoth, and he just pulls up his arm and elbows the woolly mammoth in the face. Bang! Whop! The woolly mammoth turns his head to the left.
We hear screams
and
everywhere.
Immediately to the left, and with his right hand, the one that's not elbowing the mammoth, he reaches out his hand towards his daughter. The daughter looks at him wide-eyed. There's a slow panning frame where the arms reach closer and closer. We get a brief glimpse of the Leonardo da Vinci painting. And then right before he grabs on to his daughter's hand, she is scooped up by the talons of another flying mammoth.
It's
terrifying.
Wait.
Second one. She gets picked up into the sky, and he looks. Where did it come from? How did he miss it? He's holding onto the tusk of another, veering to the left, and he looks at the mammoth and goes, he slaps it on the back. He says, fly, mammoth, fly. and he's working to tug this mammoth into the sky. And suddenly, this is an aerial chase, Marilla. This is an aerial chase.
Yes.
The young girl is gripped in the talons of this aquatic-based flying mammoth, being chased by another equally aquatic-based flying mammoth.
But here's the thing.
I'm going to toss it to you. Yeah. Toss it to you. What's happening?
As we see the dad sort of through his tears and the cotton candy stuck in his face, we see him peering at the sky. Where did this other mammoth come from? Is she still in the sky? Did she let go of the fur of the mammoth? No. Okay, she's still there. Okay, fly, mammoth, fly. He's digging his heels into this. He's in jockey riding stance now. He's owning this shit. The love for his daughter makes a man a superhero. He's peering at this mammoth and he's like, is this a mammoth or is this flying mammoths are already pretty exotic in nature, which is why it's exciting to have one in a national zoo in the city of Circe. But
Mm-hmm.
this specific flying mammoth that's now just hauling ass away with his daughter on his back doesn't really look like a mammoth the more he looks at it. And he's like, it's very shiny for like having a lot of fur. Is that metal screws on his head? Like, what's going on here? Are these wings actually air based, or is it like is this like a bone or like, an organ, or is this like an actual no, how do you say that? Not an organ. Is this like a limb? Is this like an organic natural thing?
Sure.
Or is it just something more like in the realm of like an airship sail, sort of like a bat wing kind of catching wind? It's also quite still for like an organic giant creature, and it didn't really make a lot of noise now that he thinks about it. So he's on this barreling mammoth. Aside from the sort of horror of the situation, it's a very exciting thing to be on a flying mammoth. Who can say that
of course.
they've flown a mammoth into the sky before?
Of course,
I can't,
Sure. We absolutely get that Hans Zimmer swell orchestra as he gets pulled into the air. Yes.
Sky opens up wide.
Yes.
And the closer he gets, because he's owning this mammoth, this is ride or die, all stakes. So they slowly sort of creep up to this other mammoth. And suddenly, as they come a little bit closer, he sees a sort of thing open up on the back of the other mammoth and a little scruffy boy coming out and sort of checking out what's on the fur of this thing. You continue, Dante.
I have no idea where you're going with this.
You can do it.
I have no idea. Oh, okay, help me out here. Not to ruin the tension. A small boy comes out of a bottom latch on this robotic flying, not mammoth, but vehicle.
Very similar to a flying mammoth, in fact. Perhaps this was a sort of Trojan horse setup that they wanted to hijack the zoo celebration and actually like sell the actual mammoth to return it, change it up for this fake mammoth that no one would realize. But now this has turned into something completely else.
Got it.
The sort of robotic mammoth was around. Yeah.
I'm picking up something. I'm not sure if it's what you're putting down, but I'm definitely picking up something. The little boy is reaching towards this little girl who's still held in the talons of this air vehicle.
Yeah.
And you can see that there is a brief glimpse of recognition between the two. The little girl reaches out her hand to the little boy, and he helps her board this vehicle. And as she does, she looks back at her dad, and she says very quietly and softly, "Sorry, Dad, there's something I need to do. See you at dinner." And she sneaks into the cockpit, and the vehicle closes. The flying vehicle jets away, and you see bursting out of this vehicle 5 Power Ranger-esque little kids tasked to save the situation.
Okay.
There's dozens of animals on the loose, and in this story, which is what we've been leading to this entire point from this first second, this is clearly, very obviously a story but 5 superhero kids saving the world.
Very logical, yes.
Very dangerous situations.
Oh, God.
And I see them jettisoning in colors of the rainbow, filling the skies with their heroic appeal. And everybody sees them. These are world famous Rangers, clearly
now they
ready
are,
to save the day.
And
the dad, left flying a woolly mammoth, is dumbstruck that he's simply a side character in this whole ordeal.
I am pretty dumbstruck too, yeah.
And I think that's where we leave the story.
Oh my God.
I think that's where we drop it.
For that ending. Yeah. Oh my Lord. That was thrilling.
that was definitely thrilling.
That was lovely.
I think that's one of our better prompts.
Yeah.
All things set aside, I think that's one of our better ones.
Wow. I want a flying mammoth to be a thing now. Wouldn't that be fun? Like, how is that even, like, possible? Like, mammoths are, like, the heaviest thing in the world.
They have to be really big wings. You just need really big wings for something like that.
Yeah. This is like a sort of up situation. Like, if you just have, like, as many balloons as possible, eventually it will float. Yeah.
Flawless logic. Ignore the infrastructure of a house flying into the air. If you have enough balloons, anything is possible.
Yep.
And that's probably the moral.
Guys, just make as many balloons as you can, and eventually, it will solve itself.
All right.
Oh, my God.
I am going to ask you to wrap this up, but I do want to say to anybody still listening, next episode is the fan prompt episode. We're going to take your prompts and we're going to tackle them one by one. We have no idea what they are, but we're going to choose them for each other from a list that we compile from all of you. I'll probably start collecting stuff on Twitter, or we do have a Twitter, surprisingly enough.
In fact, we do.
I could toss with all of 4 followers, I think. YRAW podcast, I believe it is.
Amazing.
Because Your Rivers Are Wrong is too long of a title for Twitter.
It's pretty long.
YRAW podcast. I'll also be collecting them on my The Wintry Wyvern Twitter and my YouTube. I'll grab them from all over and we'll collect them and we'll toss them to each other, and surely chaos will ensue as it did today. So look forward to that.
We can put like a link in the description, perhaps.
Yes.
If the timing works out. Or you can reach us at yourriversarewrong@gmail.com. We'll just always read those anyway. So if you're
exactly
Twitter scared, Gmail is an option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even if it doesn't make it to this episode, we could save them for the next one. So you never know. Toss them our way. There's
plenty of
a
time
litany of fantastic prompts out there.
Yes.
All right.
Amazing. And with that said, I think it's time to wrap up this very chaotic ending of a podcast. As Ante said, next one will be a little bit different, but very fun. So tune in for that one. And there's actually this one thing we still need to talk about at some point, but maybe we'll do it in the next episode, which is that your rivers are wrong. Yeah, they're pretty
rivers
wrong.
Are wrong. Huh. Yeah, I think so. I think they are.
Did someone ever tell you this? I don't want to be rude, but
I don't think they've ever told me that.
Oh, okay. Well, just something to think about as we move on to the next episode. Anyway, thanks for listening and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye. See ya. Thanks for listening to this episode of Your Rivers Are Wrong. If you have any thoughts for topics, prompts, or if you just want to share your thoughts, you can reach us at yourriversarewrong@gmail.com. That's yourriversarewrong@gmail.com. Big thank you goes to Martin Skelligans for our intro and outro music. And most importantly, thank you for listening. We hope to catch you at our next episode. Have a good one.